Hello everybody, it's David here at Fifth Hammer, and we are back for another cracking round of popping blisters. And folks, I have for you today a popping blisters doubleheader. We have the Dark Elf Dark Rider Standard and the Dark Elf Dark Rider Champion in all their glory. Now, these models released in May of 1998. So I want you to think where you were when these guys came out, what you were doing, hopefully playing some Warhammer, but maybe doing some other things. Drop me a note in the comments and let me know. I'd love to hear it. But we are going to crack these open, but before we do, we're going to take a little time travel back to May of 1998. And see what was going on back then in the wonderful world of Warhammer. So as you can see behind us, that is the Dark Elf Army book, and it debuted in 4th edition, but it was also their army book in 5th edition. And in 5th edition, the Dark Elves got some of their models released that were not released during the course of 4th edition, and 2 of these were our little Dark Elf Rider Champion and Standard. And these 2 particular fellows debuted in White Dwarf 220 here. And as you can see, it proclaims High Elves and Dark Elves everywhere. So let's take a look inside. So as you can see here on the opening page of the cover of White Dwarf 220, you've got Dave Kane with a battle report against the Dark Elves. And you can see our Dark Rider Champion and Standard right there on the inset. You can also see that they're going to talk a little bit about the High Elves of Ulthuan and their dark cousins in this edition, which is pretty cool. There were a lot of new miniatures released for both of those. As you can see here, this corresponds with the release of the Tears of Aisha campaign set, which you can see up here, which is fantastic. If any of you guys haven't seen Josh's playthrough over at Crown of Command, go do that, stop what you're doing, and go check that out, because it is amazing to watch him play through those 4 battles from that campaign box. But we also see here the list of all the things that came out in May of 98, and if you were a Dark Elf fan or a High Elf fan, you were in for a treat, because you just got tons of stuff, including my favorite, Lother and Seaguard. But we're not here to talk about them today. We are here to talk about the Dark Riders up there, and cheers to them. Look, you could get a box set of 4 mounted models for $27.50 American. Boy, would I love to pay that price today. But as you can see here on page 10, here are the Dark Riders in all their glory. Boy, do they look great painted up. The ones that you can see in the 4th edition rulebook were never released to the public, so most people didn't get them. I know there's some that have made their way into hands of collectors and stuff, but I'm certainly not one who was lucky enough to have them. And anywho, I would love to, but most of us had to make do with these 5th edition Dark Riders, and for my 2 cents, I think these guys look great on their own and hold their own. And then, as you can see, they were quite an interesting unit. They had hatred of High Elves, as all good Dark Elves do. But not only that, they could skirmish, they could fire and flee with their repeater crossbows. They were allowed to make a special deployment outside of the deployment zone, and they were expert riders, so they could move and shoot without penalty. And I gotta tell you, what is not to love about these guys? I think pretty much every Dark Elf army would want to include them. So anywho, you can decide when you're putting together your own Dark Elf army. Mine is certainly going to be adding a regiment of these hopefully in the next month or 2 as I get them painted up. And that is a good lead-in to us cracking open these blisters. So as I think befits the champion, he should go first. So here we go. We've got our classic red 5th edition Warhammer logo blister pack, and there you go. You can see him kind of tucked away in there. Oh no, $7.99 price tag for this guy in the back. Boy, would I love to be able to pay that today. But here we go. Let's take in that sweet late 90s air. And look at that, folks. All right, look at that right there. A piece of her repeater crossbow. It seems to have fallen down. Okay, so we've got our standard GW cavalry base. Part 1 of the horse. More horse. Let's get to the mini. Here we go. Now let's look at this guy. Fantastic sculpt. And look at him. He's lifting his sword up, holding the reins of his horse probably right there. And got a proper dark elf scowl on his face, ready to just swing down and cleave whoever's standing before him. He's got his cloak flowing off the side there. You see from behind, he's hoisting that sword up. Cloak is flowing. And just a perfect character sculpt, in my opinion. Exactly who you would want to have leading your Dark Riders. And I think you always want to take a champion just in case the unit gets stuck in close combat, or maybe you have to charge some missile troops or some stragglers, or even run into a flank of a unit that might be engaged from the front. You're going to want that champion with the extra point of weapon skill and the extra strength point and extra attack to really help you deliver those damage to the target. So it's just a fantastic sculpt here. And if I can dig it out real quick, you'll see it does come, they all do, all the Dark Riders do, with the repeating crossbow that comes in 2 parts that you got to put together. So there you go. That is our champion. And last, but by no means least, in today's doubleheader, we have the Dark Elf Dark Rider Standard. How exciting. Looks like he's holding a skull with wings on the top of that, and I don't know what would be more Dark Elf than a skull with wings. So here we go. This one does not have a price. Maybe that's free. USA, Canadian, just a dollar symbol. Who knows? But anyway, let's crack in and see what we got on this fine fellow here. All right. Got our horse, our base. Got our repeater crossbow. And here is our Dark Elf Dark Rider Standard. And there he is, hoisting that standard up in the air. Looking good. He's got those big shoulder pads. He's got a little, some kind of a cloth or something masking his face. He doesn't want to be identified. But there you go. Hoisting that standard up. Oh, look, the skull's even got some hair on the back there flowing out. That is very cool. And there you go. You can see the movement sculpted in on his sleeve, his long sleeve and his cloak, as if he's riding and the wind's kind of carrying it, blowing it to the side, as it were. And he's definitely reaching at full extension to get that standard lifted as high as possible. And as I mentioned, we've got this skull with wings here, which is very, very Dark Elf. So very fitting design. And on the back, continue with more of that flowing robes, flowing clothes, kind of a design to show that he's moving fast on those dark steeds with 9 inches of movement, fast cavalry. So anyway, not a complex design by any means on this guy, but I think a very elegant one. Simple elegance that conveys who he is, what he's doing, what his purpose is, and a nice little skull with wings to put fear into your enemies. So there you go, folks. This is going to be a wrap for this episode of Popping Blisters. And we've got these two fine gentlemen right here who want to bid you a fond farewell. Until next time, keep playing, keep painting, and keep hobbying.